everybody, and welcome to another album review. Today we are reviewing Red's fourth album, Release the Panic. So Release the Panic was released in February of 2013. It was the first Red album that I was around to sort of get excited for. The first one I pre-ordered and all of those sorts of things because I became a fan after Until We Have Faces. So I think it's safe to say I was really excited for this album because at this point I was a really big fan of Red. And I think myself and a lot of others were a little bit disappointed by this album for several reasons that I'll get into. But as usual, I'm going to talk about things that I both disliked and liked about the album, some songs that I liked in particular, and all of that. So we'll start with things that I enjoyed. So first things first, most of the performances are pretty good. Michael Barnes' vocal performance, of course, is still very well done. The guitars are also pretty good. The drums, not so much. I just feel like some of the drumming and guitar work is not quite as good as it had been in their past releases. Another good thing is, I think, the lyrics. Not all of the lyrics are great, but for a good chunk of the lyrics are pretty decent. Another thing that I like about this album is, well, not really a thing I like, but just I don't really know how to really explain it, but I feel like the second half of the album is pretty good. First half isn't quite as good, but the second half, for the most part, is very well done and very enjoyable to listen to. Another sort of good thing that's also a bad thing, which I'll get into later, about this album, is that they tried some different things and tried to give a little more variety. Now, they brought in more sort of pop and pop rock elements into this album, and whether it's good or bad, I do appreciate that they tried something new. Another thing that I do like about this album is the bonus tracks on the deluxe edition. The two normal ones, I guess, Love Will Leave a Mark and As You Go. Love Will Leave a Mark is the shortest Red song pretty much in existence, actually. Like actual song, not like intros to their albums. And it's okay. It's not great, but it's alright. As You Go, I think, is pretty good. And then you also got 3 remixes, one of them being an acoustic version of Breathe Into Me from their first album. And the 2 remixes, while a little different from what you would expect from Red, I think they were done pretty well, and I do like them. And then another good thing, sort of, about this album is that they released the Panic Recalibrated about a year after the original came out, which kind of brought back a little bit more of Red's normal sound, because this album was lacking a lot of like orchestral elements that they're known for, so they brought them back and implemented them into the songs, and also released a new song, which was Run and Escape. And I would say that for the most part, the recalibrated versions of the songs are better than the originals, with the exception of As You Go, which is still good in the new version, but I do prefer the original. Another good thing about this album is the ballads, actually. As usual, Red ballads are pretty good in this album for the most part, with songs like Hold Me Now, Glass House, and The Moment We Come Alive. I think those 3, as well as You Go, are pretty good. So now that's all out of the way, let's talk about some stuff I didn't like. I will say, I probably am, when I'm generally talking about it, I probably am more negative about this album than I think it really deserves, because it was disappointing, but it's not terrible. Like I said, that they tried some things differently, and I do appreciate that. It just wasn't pulled off quite as well as I would have liked. Songs like Perfect Life are a little more pop rock. That song is alright, however, Die For You, the 3rd track, is not so great. Another thing that is one of my biggest problems with this album is the sound of it and the production. This was produced by a different person than usual. It was produced by Howard Benson, who has done some of Skillet's albums and a few other bands. I can't remember who they are at the moment. Rather than Rob Graves, who's done all of their other albums. And it really shows because it sounds incredibly different, just the way things sound. The guitars sound totally different, and compared to their other albums, they sound really terrible. The vocals have a little different of a production feeling to them and stuff, so that side of things isn't quite super great. Another thing is that while some of the songs are good, a lot of them are incredibly average. Like, Release the Panic and Damage are decent enough, but they're really nothing that great. Perfect Life, much the same way. So Far Away and Love Will Leave a Mark, I also feel that way about. And Same Disease is, like, incredibly forgettable. So, a pretty good portion of the album is really not that great. And the only song on here that I think, or the only songs, I guess, there's a couple of them that I think are actually really good, are like If We Only, and to a lesser extent, Hold Me Now and Glass House. But, and then Run and Escape as well from Recalibrated, but I'm sort of counting that, but not really. I'm really talking about the bass version of the album. Those are really the only songs that are really good. And, the only one that I think is really good is If We Only. The other ones are just slightly above average. So I guess that's gonna wrap up my general thoughts on the album. Do I recommend it? If you are a new Red fan and you want to get into them, don't start with this album. Just don't do it. I would say if you've been a fan of the band for a while and you just haven't listened to it, I would say give it a shot, but I can't guarantee that it will blow you away or anything. If you're a fan, then go ahead and check it out. If you're not, then start out with like End of Silence or something. So then my 3 favorite songs from this album would be If We Only, Run and Escape from the Recalibrated version, and Glass House. So that pretty much wrapped this up. So let me know in the comments what you think of this album. Were you very disappointed from me, similar to me? Or do you actually really like this album? Let me know in the comments, and let me know if there's any other reviews you'd like me to do besides other Red albums, because after this one I am going to be reviewing their 5th album, and then Gone when it comes out later this month. So that's pretty much the end of this, so I guess I will see you guys next time.